Email from retailers, credit card companies, and other businesses that come in primarily as graphics are inaccessible to me and other visually impaired people. In episode 66 of the I Can't See You podcast, I'll tell you why that is a little more troubling with the current outbreak.
From Studio C, welcome to the I Can't See You podcast with David. He can't see, but he's got a lot to say and a face for radio.
Hello there, and welcome to the I Can't See You podcast. My name is David, at David Benj on all the socials. I really appreciate you joining me today. And before we get started, I hope that you are hunkered down and keeping your distance from just about everybody other than your family and your house. And you're all being safe and washing your hands 8 million times like I am, along with Liz and Jane and Jacob. You know, we have a full house here. Jane came home from New York City over the weekend, and she's been working remotely from our dining room table. Jacob, on the other hand, has been going into work because he works at Target. So if there is one window for some bad germs coming in, it's through Jacob, most likely, because he's a cashier most of the time at Target. So he's touching dirty money, and he's touching, hopefully not dirty people. And you know, that's where, if it comes in, it seems at this point that's where it will be coming from. There was an issue with Podfest from a couple of weeks ago where someone at the Orlando International Airport had tested positive for coronavirus. Seems like we're all good at this point, so hopefully that remains the case. And that's, while I don't want to specifically talk about coronavirus, it's kind of what is the subject of the point of what I'm going to talk about today. You know, over the course of time, I get tons of emails. I have multiple email accounts, like most folks, probably more than most folks, because of the web development and things like that we've done. So I have, you know, my email that you can email me at I Can't See You podcast at gmail.com. Remember, I Can't See You is spelled ICANTCU podcast at gmail.com. Remember, I Can't See You sounds like a whole sentence, but it's only 7 letters long. So I have that email address, and like I said, a bunch of others for various reasons. And in some of them, I get emails from businesses. And during normal times, when there's not some pandemic going on, I get emails about food from Bertucci's and Pizzeria Uno and P.F. Chang's and things like that. And some of them are frustrating, but it's just talking about a deal or a new dish that they've come out with. In fact, I got an email a couple of weeks ago from Honey Grow, which is a place that Liz and I like to go to. It's a quick serve. You know, you order on a computer monitor, which I guess now is a little crazy to think about touching. And then they call your name out when it's done, and you go pick it up and, you know, go back to your table and eat it, or you can order on a mobile app and then go pick it up. We've never tried ordering it that way, but, you know, maybe now, since you can't eat in restaurants, maybe we'll have to try it. But my point is this. A couple of weeks ago, I got an email from Honey Grow. And again, I don't want to single them out. It's just something that I wanted to know about. And it was beautiful from what I could tell. It looked like they had dishes and the different things. And there were new items in there, evidently. But all of the email, with the exception of some legalese down at the bottom, 95 to 98% of the email was all graphics, meaning that even the text of the email was in the graphics, you know, whether it was a new dish or they were talking about something that's popular or whatever. So it was all graphics. And I was a little frustrated at that, again, because we go almost weekly to Honey Grow. So I tweeted about it at David Benj on Twitter and all the socials, as I've mentioned before. I tweeted about it, and they actually responded thanking me for talking about that to them. And they said they would look into it and try and make it more accessible, because a screen reader can't read a graphic. Sometimes a screen reader can read, it will read maybe the first couple of words or maybe even a little bit more than that. But when it's, if there's not words right at the top where when it starts, it won't read anything. It'll just say image, or it'll give you what the file is called, .jpg or .png, whatever it may be. So they responded with that, and I thought, oh, that's great, And again, they're not the only ones. A lot of places do that. And again, when I can't read it, I just move on. It's okay. I won't buy whatever might be on sale, so it's wasted on me. So again, there are not a whole bunch of blind folks in the U.S., roughly a couple percent that probably use a screen reader, maybe as high as 3%. So businesses that are using graphics as their email, as the sole part of their email, not using graphics and text. For example, Maggiano's combines it. Micro Center combines it. And if they use the graphics, that would be okay. If they put the alt text in to tell me what it says in there or what I'm looking at, just like on Facebook or any of them, Instagram, when you go back in and you change the alt text to say what's in the image, then somebody who can't see understands what the image is. And I know I've talked about that in previous episodes. So again, Pizzeria Uno, Outback, P.F. Chang's, a lot of them, Bonefish, use mostly graphics. And again, it's hard to figure out what I'm looking at. American Express, and I think one of my first episodes may have been on that, talking about what kind of deals they had with their card when you use your card at a certain establishment. Well, again, it's all lost on me and anybody else that uses a screen reader. In some instances, it is really frustrating because I maybe can make out that, it's something new. It looks like something that I may want to try, but I can't read it. If it's something really bad, it will be, or something that looks really good, I'll send it to Liz. I'll just forward it to Liz and say, hey, what am I looking at here? What is this? And what does it say? I know I've done that with P.F. Chang's in the past because sometimes they have a rewards program. I think it's called Warrior Club or Warrior Rewards or something like that. And so I sent it to Liz and I said, what does this say? Do we get something free if we go on a certain time, or do we get this? And she read it, and she, it was basically some new dish they had. And I don't remember if we went or not, but when it's something like that, I will, I'll ask Liz to do that, or Jane, or, if it's, Jacob happened to be walking by when I'm opening it, I'll ask him to read it or tell me what it is. And it's frustrating, like I said, but I realized over the last week or so, as things have been changing so rapidly with the virus, that a lot of businesses are sending out emails saying what they're going to do as far as staying open, closing. If it's a restaurant, sometimes, I do I do get stuff from other places other than restaurants, like Eddie Bauer, or Bed Bath and not Bed Bath and Beyond, Bath and Body Works, because we use their soaps. I mean, if you ever needed soap, now's the time for the soap, and we like their soap. It's a foamy soap, and it's it takes 25 washes to dry your hands out, as opposed to 10 or 15. So in these instances where they're talking about what the business is going to do, whether they're going to remain open or they've got some sort of something in progress to laid out to, for example, I got an email today from Target, which was all text, and I was able to read it with my screen reader. And, so I found out they were shortening their hours a little bit so they can spend some time cleaning the shelves and restocking the shelves, which I some of that I already knew because, Jacob has been going in. He went in at 4:00 in the morning the other day because after everything went nuts at the end of last week or middle of last week, they were out of a lot of things. And so he went in at 4, he worked 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. to restock shelves and to clean the shelves before they restock them. So some of these could be pretty important because, we want to know what's going on. And hey, if we run over there because we're out of something, whether it's a medicine or food or whatever, we would need to know. So it's super frustrating to me when places like, again, not that it's life-threatening, but Johnston Murphy and Lucky Brand are all, laying out their ideas of what they're going to do when their stores are going to close and so forth and so on. And I can't read it because it's all graphic. And I just don't get it when it's just, they're really the only thing on there besides the text and maybe a signature of the CEO or the president or whoever is sending the email. The only other graphic may be the company logo of these places. So why they did it as an image is just beyond me. So I can't read it. I have no idea what it says. My screen reader can't read it. And I really have no idea. And it is so frustrating, like it was a couple of weeks ago with the Honeygrow email. And so I started thinking as I was reading these things over the last few days, it kind of goes to the point where, it's even greater than that. As I've mentioned before, I'm the president of the condo association here at the Briarcliff condominiums in Swarthmore. And a couple of people have sent me PDF files as a of a financial report, of some sort of letter or some sort of rules and regulations. When it's sent as an image, it was a PDF, but it was an image. Now, there are times that I am able to take it into Adobe Acrobat Pro or whatever the Creative Cloud version of that is when you get all the Creative Cloud software. I can take it in there, and sometimes it will convert. Sometimes it won't. I got something from Maris Grove a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't read it, and it wouldn't convert it. It converted one thing, but it wouldn't convert another thing regarding, my mom's final billing and refunds that are supposed to be coming. She's. And this may be an upcoming episode, depending on how things play out with the virus and what I have. Listen, if I can't get out and about to do things, they may be very short episodes because there's not, here's what I did today, and I sat on the couch and tried to watch TV. And by the way, I never sit on the couch to watch TV because I certainly don't see anything from all the way over there. And so, if I'm sitting on the couch, there's either descriptive services offered or it's something I don't care that much about. And I'll mention something in a second about that. So I couldn't figure out what this, getting back to my mom's Maris Grove stuff, I couldn't figure out what they were sending me and what they were telling me why I haven't received the refund yet. For her entrance fee, and why they ended up erroneously taking out an extra month for fees over a month after she died. To me, from Ericsson, it sounds like they were stealing. They just claim it was an error. We'll see if as time goes on. And again, I may have a whole podcast episode about that. Again, not that it's vision related, but the different things that I have to do. And this is one of them, to read those items. If somebody sent me something like that and said, get back to me as soon as you can, and they send it to me as an image, I can't get back to them as soon as I can because it'll take me forever to just try and read it. I either have to wait for someone to be home, and again, now everybody's home. And I did forget to mention that Liz is also, quote unquote, working from home. Yes, she is a preschool and kindergarten teacher. But today, for example, one of the things that she did, she Skyped with one or two of her students, and they set up a schedule. So she is going to Skype with them sporadically. And I'm trying to get her to do Zoom and, try to get both her and her partner, co-teacher in the classroom, Barb. I thought it would be cool. Why not just do the entire class at once? They could both be on, and they could do Zoom, and they could do a whole bunch of cool things that way. But we'll see we'll see what kind of pull I have to get those kids all in one call together. And it is, obviously, it's a little distracting when you have the, in this instance, one of the kids today had a brother or sister that was talking more than the actual student, and the brother or sister was just very excited, to be involved with this because, of course, the mom is there as well. so I guess the mom and the two kids were, doing the Skype call together. So, and I get that. Obviously it's a little bit different than when you're doing a group of adults. And I'm also waiting to hear how my friend Alex is doing. He's a adjunct professor at Temple University in Philadelphia. He's got a class tonight, and they've gone for the rest of the semester. They've gone to virtual classroom also using Zoom, and so I'm interested to see how that works out. Where we ran through his PowerPoint presentation, and we checked everything like that. He was having trouble doing it from his house because he has a couple of kids, and maybe there was some bandwidth issues there. But there's just so many things that you can do. But if you say to me, getting back to Maris Grove, or anybody that sends me a PDF that is an image, it's not easy for me to do. And a lot of folks don't realize that. Just like when you walk up to somebody and say, hey, could you tell me where the men's room is? And they point and say, it's right over there, or it's go down that hallway over there and make a left. I can't see where they're pointing 9 times out of 10, or, maybe 99 times out of 100. And I, if they do that, like I mentioned in last week's episode about Orlando, I'll joke and I'll say, you're pointing, aren't you? And the person will say yes. And, then they'll tell me which way they're pointing. So, so these emails that, and again, it's not critical stuff. It's, hey, what if I want a pizza from Bertucci's and it's all graphics and I don't know if they're going to be open. I don't know if takeout is available. Maybe they're now starting to offer delivery and they haven't done it before. A lot of places are trying new things just to keep the doors open. And I get it. I get all that because I can only imagine how difficult it is running a business today. With all this stuff going on, whether it was the West Coast video franchise that I owned in Brookhaven, and we closed over 20 years ago, or the salon supplies and interiors business, I wouldn't be able to stay open for either of them. First of all, can you imagine videotapes coming and going and have germs on them? And it would just be so risky to have that. Obviously that is one improvement. As much as I love that business, and I loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved that because you were always talking about movies and entertainment, and it was just so awesome to do that. But can you imagine movies coming and going, and you're touching it, and you're coughing or wiping your nose, and then you just inadvertently touch the movie box, and then you turn it back into the clerk at the video store, and then they give it, oh, is that so and so? I'd like to rent that, and you hand it right over to them, and they're out the door and taking those germs home. And now I've touched it, or the clerk has touched it, and then the person who's renting it has touched it, and maybe other people in that household have touched it. So I get it. So I love the fact that now you have things like Netflix or on demand from the cable system or whatever, or Apple TV, where you can rent stuff and you don't have to do anything but click a couple of buttons, and boom, you got it. That is, again, as much as I love the other thing, it's just a much better delivery system now. You can be stuck in your house for weeks and still get entertainment, and without spreading a deadly disease. So that part is better. And, same thing with the salon supplies and interiors. A lot of folks are home, working from home, or just being home because they've been laid off. So as I've been trying to explain to Jane and reassure her that, I really have no idea what's going to happen. I'm not trying to reassure her that, but, how, if I had either of those businesses, what would we do? I have to pay the rent each month, or had to pay the rent each month. The landlord for the video store was a little bit more lenient. It was my mom and dad. So, and then there's other bills, the electric bill, and, you have taxes due. And I know they've been talking about, pushing things like that back, but, we had to pay taxes every month, payroll taxes and Social Security and, all sorts of stuff. And so I have to shut down. Now I have no money coming in because neither of those businesses, there were really no payment plans that we had. So there's no money coming in. You want to try and keep the employees. And in the video store's case, these were all mostly high school and college kids. And at the beginning, they were all my age because I opened the video store when I was 21. So I wonder how does that work? And so then what if you're that person that works at one of those stores or one of those retail outlets in the mall? You work at one of the stores that's non-essential. I always joke with Liz when we take Jacob to the Target at the Springfield Mall. I said, oh, come on, let's go into Gertrude Hawk and get one of those ice cream bars that they have. It's dipped in chocolate and salted peanuts on it. It's so delicious. But they're closed. So if you work in that store or you own that store, how do you survive this? Well, one way to survive is to send out emails that everybody can read, whether you can see or you can't see. And I just don't know. Like so many businesses are going to fail because of this, and I just there's not an answer, and I don't think until everything gets goes through everything, until the cases start to subside, new cases start to subside each day, I don't know how a business could get through. But again, it's important for everyone to be notified. Look, as I've mentioned before, blind people want to know the same thing sighted people want to know. I want to know what's on deal. I want to know, hey, there's a special on pepperoni pizza from Bertucci's, or the new shrimp pad thai from P.F. Chang's. I don't know that they actually have such a thing, but it sounds delicious, doesn't it? I want to know that on their new menu they've gotten rid of the shrimp with the Caesar salad, which was my favorite. And with all that, I didn't know until we got there, and the waitress told me, and I was a little disappointed, and then had to figure out what I wanted to get instead, which, with an email I would kind of know, hey, maybe they don't have this anymore, I better have a backup plan, and then go to their website and look there. And a lot of times, even a menu on a website is that way, especially with smaller mom and pops. They may just take their menu and scan it and put it up. And again, I can't read it it's not read by a screen reader. In some instances, they also add the nutrition, again, not mom and pops, but even places like P.F. Chang's. If I can't read the menu on the page because it's a PDF or a graphic, I can go into the nutrition, which usually is a PDF, but it's usually it's got OCR data in it, meaning optical character recognition. So I can go through it that way, and if I see it on there, then I kind of assume it's there. But again, that's not always the case because that might not be updated as often as a menu. So so this whole thing with the virus, has just brought out something. And I had hoped not to really talk about the virus, because when you turn on the TV anymore or the radio, even if you're listening to Radio 104.5 in Philadelphia, like I've mentioned, used to be my favorite station, and I don't know that it's still 100% because, a few things have happened there, and, it's that or Alt Nation on Sirius XM. I listen to both about the same now. Obviously, if we're traveling, who is traveling now, we have Sirius on. We have Alt Nation on in the car because, if we go outside Radio 104.5's range, boom, you get it. We can't hear it. So, but I had Radio 104.5 on this morning while I was getting out of the shower, and Josh was on in for the person who's normally on from 10 to 3, and that's what he was talking about. So I'd hope not to talk about this, but it just brought something to the forefront that, is just one other thing that make it more difficult for blind and visually impaired folks. So when you're scanning that document and you're going to send it to somebody, scan it as, use a OCR so you can go over it. And even if a screen reader won't read it, you can highlight it. At least I can on a Mac. I can highlight it and then have my computer read me specific things from it, even the whole page if I wanted to. So it just makes it that much easier for us, for people who are blind and visually impaired. So if you scan it as an image, I'm never going to be able to read it, even if it has words, unless you do the alt text. And I know that if it's a long document, like a letter stating what is going to be done with the business or And I don't get too many health things. If it's that and it's and it's really important, I'm not going to know what's going on, because my machine can't read it to me. And if it's something I think I want to know, like I said, I'll have Liz read it. So I hope you're staying safe, and just keep that in mind, please. And so when you scan stuff, please do OCR wherever you can. And the other thing, thinking about going around as we're trying to gather up supplies so we have it, so we don't have to go out every day, because we're used to going out a couple times a week and buying certain things. Hey, we're going to have this for dinner tonight. Let's go get it fresh that day. Now it's not a great idea to do that. So we had gone to a couple of markets, and like I've mentioned before, especially in one of my early episodes where I talk about going into a men's room, for me to really see something, I got to feel it. So we went into this new market down in Wilmington called Sprouts, or Sprout, not sure. Couldn't see the sign. Don't know if it has an S or not, but Sprout or Sprouts, awesome place. Kind of like Trader Joe's, but a much bigger produce section. Seemed like they had a big bakery. It was packed because it had just opened, so we didn't really look around too much, but we got a boatload of ginger there, which I absolutely love and probably eat too much of, fresh ginger. But everything that we went, I said, oh, let me see what that is. And when I say see, I put my hand out and I'm touching it, and I'm touching this package, and I'm touching that package, and I'm touching a shelving unit because it seems different than most normal shelving units. So, it's just something that, when I get back in the car, I immediately get the wipes that we have in the car. And that's not anything new for us. We've had these wipes in the car since our kids were little, because, Liz never knew when she was going to have to change the kids, diaper. And it sounds funny when our kids are 23 and 26, but that's how we used to do it. And so there's always been these wipes in the car, whether we're at the gas station getting gas and we need to wipe our hands from that or whatever, but they're still in there, and we use those, because there may not be, a sink close by. So that just adds another layer of, another reason why I don't want to keep going to stores. And we've tried to buy as much as we can, so we only have to go out once a week or so. But do stay safe out there, and I hope you're doing well. And please, for God's sakes, wash your hands. Just keep doing it. Wash your hands. And again, that Bath and Body Works soap, while I don't have an affiliate link for that, we love them. Cherry Merlot is our favorite, but they foam up when you squeeze them out, and they smell delicious, and are good for now. And again, stay safe. Be careful, but don't be afraid, as my dad used to tell me. And I've kind of tried to do that my entire life. Again, be careful, don't be afraid. I really appreciate listening to the I Can't See You podcast. My name is David, at David Benj on all the socials. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't See You podcast. Follow David on Twitter. He is at David Benj.